This is a Film Stories original podcast.
We made this.
Welcome to the Starlight Ballroom. Hey!
Hello and welcome to Shipwrecked and Comatose, the podcast about Red Dwarf, right here on the We Made This podcast network. My name's Mark Adams and I am your host for this episode where we're looking at Series 5, Episode 5 of Red Dwarf. With me at this time is my regular co-host, Kurt North. Hello, Kurt.
Hello.
And our regular guest host this time is Colin Jackson-Brown. Hello, Colin.
Hello.
Welcome back, both of you. We're talking about one of the best series, aren't we?
Yeah. Series 5 is good.
On one of the hottest days of the world.
It is a bit warm.
Yes. Melting.
So if you hear fans in the background or some birds singing or kids playing or an ice cream van appear, then...
If an ice cream van appears, we are pausing the fucking recording and I'm getting a damn 99.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I can dig that.
But yeah, we're looking at Season 5, Episode 5, Demons and Angels, which was first broadcast on 19th of March, 1992. And it's for me, an underrated episode, because I think it sits in Series 5 where everything is fucking great. It's one that you might forget, but for me, it's always been an absolute favourite, mainly for the alternative versions of all of the casts, to be honest with you.
Particularly the low ones.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think that's a fair assessment, Kurt?
I do, and I also find it really interesting that this episode seems to be the worst of the worst to put together as well. So the fact that they've had to do, half of it had to be reshot for a start off.
Right,
so, okay. And they've done really, really well considering where they were. So, which I'll speak to about in a bit of time. But yeah, it's come out remarkably well considering all the backstage stuff happening.
Yeah, I mean, we've touched on that before with the new director who struggled. I've forgotten her name. Juliet May.
Juliet May.
Yeah. And was this part of that to do with her then?
Yeah. So this was the first one filmed of the series. So, and she didn't know, Hattie Hayridge just said she didn't know what split screen was.
Oh, fuck.
For a start off.
It's kind of utilised a lot in this episode.
Yeah. She didn't, Hattie, you can tell that Hattie in the interview that I've read is kind of a bit miffed because she didn't have any shots where, you would get where she's in the room with Juliet doing a full reel of her talking. So she's had 3 hours worth of, getting all the stuff on, the hat and the makeup and the wigs and stuff like that. And she said something along the lines of all that work only to be a postage stamp in the back of a set. None of the reels were actually done in front of her. It's a camera.
Yeah.
So
she gets 11 lines in this episode.
Yeah.
Because I counted them.
She doesn't actually get to... Does she get to talk as the high and low Holly?
Yeah.
She does
she does a little bit. She does as low Holly as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we'll get to that later.
All right. Should we get on with it then?
I think we probably
Absolutely.
should.
So the episode starts in the engine room and Lister has the last strawberry in the universe. He puts it in a machine called the Triplicator. Crichton activates it and it creates 2 copies. Rimmer enters and Crichton explains that it's an adapted transmat and could produce 4, maybe 5 strawberries a week.
I need to mention that straight off because, so first of all, he's adapted the matter paddle, which they used in Meltdown, so that's a nice bit of continuity, which we don't often get. It's a triplicator. So when they put the strawberries on it, it makes 2 copies of everything.
I put this in my notes too. You are as much of a pedant as I am.
4, maybe 5 strawberries. No, 4, maybe 6.
That is what I wrote in my notes too.
That's what I was going to say.
But it's simple maths. I mean, come on.
Really fucking... It's maths that my 5-year-old daughter could do, probably.
Yeah, exactly. And do they mean 4 or, let's be fair, 4 or 5 sets of 2 No, they fucked up.
They don't mean that. They
fucked up. No, they fucked up. And like we're being, Rimmer's really sarcastic about it and says that, we might have a fruit salad in a year. And I quite enjoyed that because that's exactly how I'd have responded. And the problem with this is that every time I empathise with Rimmer, I realise how much of a smeghead I am. Lister eats a strawberry and it's incredible. He takes the opposite one and it's rank and it's got maggots in it.
All over the floor of the post office in Leytonstone.
What?
Garth Marenghi Dark Place reference.
I don't know who Garth Marenghi is. I know what like lemon meringue is. That's really nice.
Mate, you need to watch Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. It's utterly fucking brilliant.
Is it Star Trek?
No, it's
the ones with the big ears, the meringue.
No, that's the Ferengi.
That's the Ferengi.
I'm taking the piss.
No, Garth Marenghi's Dark Place is one of the greatest and most underrated British comedy series of all time.
What, Garth Brooks' Dark Place?
Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. Garth Brooks wasn't involved.
Dark Season. I've heard of Dark Season. That was
I've heard of Dark. That's a good TV show. Netflix.
Yeah. And
Dark Crystal. Dark Crystal's good.
Dark Crystal's great. What was the... Oh, Dark City's very good. That's got the fella from the Crystal Maze in it.
I'm sending
Dark
you a
Angel had Jessica Alba.
Oh, it did. It was very good for one season, and the second series was shite.
Yeah.
I'm sending you motherfuckers some links as soon as we finish recording.
Oh, it's hot in here.
I've forgotten what you said, so you probably should.
Yeah, I will do.
Yeah, basically, these fucking strawberries, one of them's like dead nice, the other one's dead bad. And
I do like the run up to it though, because it's like bitter, crunchy,
tangy,
kind of bit meaty,
tangy, meaty, wriggly texture. That was really nice.
Yeah, and there's definitely an element of kind of grim humour where the audience knows when the characters, gross out, very much so. And Lister speculates what would happen if you reverse the process. He does it, and funnily enough, causes an explosion.
Bang! There's a beautiful bit where the acting when the explosion's happening, where Lister goes back to the computer in the background, and he's supposed to look like he's sort of typing to try and fix it, but he's just sort of slapping it with both of his hands. It looks like he's playing the bongos.
Yeah. They do look like Commodore 64 or VIC 20s, don't they?
They probably were.
Yeah, it's painted.
I'm pretty sure they were in Hollow's ship. We talked about that, didn't we?
Yeah.
Holly comes on screen and can't communicate as a fire has taken out her voice recognition unicycle.
Sorry, what was that, Mark?
Her voice recognition unicycle.
Rude alert.
She tells them that they have to abandon shop, and that's because there's been a critical engine core problem or something.
Well, many Wurlitzers are missing from her database.
I mean, you said that Holly doesn't get many lines, but fuck me, this one is probably the best of the fucking episode.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the first time I watched it, I had to pause it because I was just howling with laughter. And I think that's really odd because my memories of Series 5 weren't that there wasn't very much Holly. It was that Holly was cool.
Yeah.
So the lines she does get really are fucking great.
Yeah.
She's brilliant. She's absolutely fantastic in this series. There's just nowhere near enough of her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And as I say, going back to that whole, it's the actual sections are all like shots of her within the set rather than being what we used to with being within your frame, just her.
Yeah.
And that's what she was getting at. But it works well enough, and it is funny. So there is that. But I think there's definitely, it gives you an indication what was happening behind the scenes, really, I think.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. There's a beautiful, beautiful model shot straight after this because Holly doesn't recognise their commands because her voice recognition unicycle isn't working. And I just love that line. But the fucking models. It's great where Starbug bursts through the cargo bay doors. They use it in the theme tune. It's so good.
And just before that is the TARDIS.
Right. Yeah, have we gone back in time? Because you said this off air the other day, saying, well, I've already talked about the TARDIS. And I'm like, no, you haven't. We haven't done the episode yet.
Maybe
so I think you thought that... Have you done it on a magazine or something? Or
maybe.
It might be somewhere that Carl's mentioned it when we've done a magazine episode, possibly.
Maybe.
We've done lots of them. So.
No, I didn't spot the TARDIS, but you did, didn't you,
You
Colin?
have to know where it is. There's no way that you're going to find it without being told, but it is in that first bit where Starbug is going out.
But not only that, they've got another blue thing, like, to the right of it.
Yeah.
There's, like, right in front of you, just up
is it blue
in centre screen, and there's a blue thing on the top right corner. It doesn't look like anything. Well, the TARDIS doesn't look like anything, to be honest, but...
No, not on the blurry footage that I got, but it was the TARDIS, because that was originally supposed to be in an earlier episode. But they
so is that why is it the Lego? There's a Lego game, isn't there, with the whole Doctor Who and Red Dwarf thing?
A Lego video game, yeah. I don't think Doctor Who's a hidden one, whereas Red Dwarf is a hidden.
Yeah. Is that
kind
one of the
Easter
Star
egg.
Wars games?
I think it might be. Yeah.
Star Wars. Yeah.
I don't play modern video games, otherwise I'd suggest we do a special on it.
Of course you would. It mentioned one day you're going to do the. Suggest we do a special
YouTube
on, the White Dwarf magazine that Games Workshop put out, because it's
no, but I am planning on getting some idiots in to do the AA adverts. We are doing proper deep dive. There will be no stone uncovered by the end of this.
There's
podcast.
someone playing the Lego Star Wars game at that scene. It actually plays the game on YouTube, so you can watch the YouTube video of it and do a special on that.
Good idea. And you two are doing it with me.
It's like a shipwrecked and comatose goggle box.
That's it. We could totally do that, like a watch along.
Yeah. We could easily do that. You could put it out as a video.
Yeah. Maybe. That would involve technical prowess I do not have, so you'd have to do it. Anyway. Lovely model work. Outside of Red Dwarf, they speculate that the safety systems should kick in and everything will be fine, and then Red Dwarf blows up. The nearest asteroid is 6 hours away, but they only have oxygen for 7 minutes. Rimmer looks for a way to save himself regardless of the others, and Lister calls him out. Crichton informs him that his power will run out in 2 minutes, and then he changes his tune.
Just before that, there's the moment where they're talking about, Red Dwarf, it'll be fine. The chances of it blowing up are 1 in, boom.
1.
1.
It's a great line, isn't it?
There's also there's a one really quick scene just before they crash through the doors out of Red Dwarf, where they're all bracing themselves for the crash. And I mean, in particular, Lister's face is fucking hilarious when he's bracing for the crash. It's worth waiting for that bit and watching it, because it's worth watching the whole thing. Red Dwarf's quite good. Did you know that?
It is dead good.
It is. I like it.
The way that Crichton during that scene as well talks to Rimmer, and they're all talking out the side of the mouth. It's like, this is going to be thinking we could save ourselves. It's just wonderful.
I also think, is this the first usage of the term "boys from the dwarf"?
I thought it was, but apparently it isn't. There have been.
It was in last week's episode, the week before, because I was just editing it recently, because behind the scenes we've had a bit of a gap between the recordings this time, and I was just editing it, and I mentioned it in that one, so I think it's last week. So they had boys from the dwarf.
So it's clearly something they want to establish rather than something that they're starting now.
Yeah.
I love Crichton's really dorky way of doing the hand thing compared to the other two. It's just little things like that by all the actors, not just Robert Llewellyn, that makes Red Dwarf really, really fucking special, I think. And
Rimmer's really sarcastic. Okay, homeboys, let's posse.
That's wonderful.
Did you also notice the bit where his where they were shutting his power down, or reducing his power, and he's fading in and out, he's standing really strangely with his arms like almost like a U shape. It's just a very unnatural way to stand, and I can't work out why he's doing it because there's no reason for it at all.
I think it could be suggesting, at least, that he's paranoid about falling through the floor, because if his hologrammatical stuff isn't quite at full capacity, he's probably misjudged it. Maybe.
Yeah, I can dig that. That's an actual reason. I was expecting.
I mean, that's what I got from it, but it's not explicit, I don't think.
No.
Cool.
But what I quite like though, with when they start talking about running down his power, and it's really interesting that they actually do this. They come to Rimmer, and Rimmer's looking really concerned, and they stay on it for about 3 seconds, where Rimmer's kind of looking, going, am I going to be going on low? You know, he literally looks like that. And by then, I think they'd already found that there was something that's going to save them, or, you know, I think Red Dwarf was obviously coming, but he's still looking, going, I'm not quite sure I like this kind of thing. And I like that.
The crew decide they're going to try and salvage stuff from the debris. And when Crichton goes to the scanner, he discovers that there are 2 Red Dwarfs. They very quickly work out that the triplicator reversed the field of the beam, creating these 2 new Red Dwarfs, but caused the explosion to the original. And then, like the strawberry, there's going to be a perfect one, and one that is fish bait.
Yes. A high and a low one, because that was the original title of the episode, High and Low.
It was.
I think Angels and Demons is much better.
It definitely is, yeah. You're not supposed to think...
almost suggests gambling to me.
Yeah, but you're not supposed to like Angels and Demons, because that's not very humanist.
Well, true. But Goodies and Baddies, again, isn't quite as catchy, is it?
I think that's a way better title, Goodies and Baddies.
Goodies and Baddies.
Yeah. Nice people and dickheads.
Us and Tories. Moving on.
Yeah, that works.
Moving on. Unfortunately, the ships only have an hour's life due to the triplicator's limitations, but if they find the triplicator on the high ship, they should be able to reverse the reversal. So they head to the high ship.
And it's very brightly lit.
It is. Starbug lands on a perfect Red Dwarf, and Lister and the cat go ahead whilst Crichton charges up Rimmer. Very, very clever way of splitting it up so they don't have to do too many split screens.
Yes.
The corridors in the high ship, it gave me this memory of a kids' TV programme that I got a really, really faint memory of. And the only thing that I could remember about it was that it had got really brightly lit white corridors, and the theme tune was, I think it was called Blue Danube. It's like...
Yeah.
And I finally worked out what it was the other day, which it was, I believe, the last thing that Kenneth Williams was ever in. It was a kids' TV programme called Galloping Galaxies, which was on in 1986, so I was 4.
Wow.
I've just got this really faint memory of it, and it's always stuck in my head, and it's probably the first science fiction comedy programme I ever watched, so led the way for Red Dwarf.
Well, there you go. I've
which
never
I was
heard
watching
of that.
only 6 years later.
Yeah. The music, the air, and everything on board is sublime, and there's even an edible pot noodle. We've talked about the vendetta against pot noodles many times, so we can move on from that.
Did you notice Cat's face as he was eating the pot noodle?
No.
His face and his mannerisms looked like he was enjoying it rather too much.
Well done, Danny John Jules. Orgasmic pot noodle.
But of course, there is the continuity error in this as well.
Yes.
In this scene.
What's that?
The continuity of, like, he's played pool with planets.
That was erased.
That was erased. That's not in their timeline.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Well spotted. They're greeted by a softly spoken, robed versions of themselves.
Philosophy.
Yes, indeed, philosophy. The cat speculates his counterpart is impossible due to wearing sandals. And indeed, as you said, Perfect Lister invites them to an evening of philosophy.
There's an absolutely amazing line or amazing little bit of dialogue between the two versions of Cat. Where it's, I find clothes a distraction from the pursuit of spiritual and intellectual fulfillment. And the cat responds, "That's weird. I find spiritual and intellectual fulfillment a distraction from the pursuit of clothes."
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
Absolutely perfect.
So here's my question for the day. The fact that they are very spiritual and, higher, than high, what it makes of that? What actually, as a concept, as what they're doing is fine, but would your higher self be going, "Oh, there, brother Colin. Brother Colin, are you okay, brother?" That would, seriously doubt my higher self would be doing that.
To be fair, this version of me has quite often referred to people as brother, but in a more hippie kind of way than than a monk sort of way. But yeah, I do think it's a bit of a missed opportunity with the fact that all four of the higher versions of them are essentially exactly the same character. They're all sort of philosophy monks, whereas the lower versions, as we'll get to in a bit, are all completely different.
Yeah, they're much more diverse in their horribleness. And I think it's fascinating that this is where they went. Is this really what the writers think is the aspiration of perfection for everybody?
Because, being a monk.
Well, I don't feel like the perfect me would be that.
No. I mean, the perfect me is this, obviously. I already am the perfect me.
I mean,
okay, brother.
One thing I did want to mention about this scene is, I've always been very linguistic. Even as a kid, I really liked English at school. I did an English degree. But I tell you what, there's a word that I regularly use in my vocabulary that I wouldn't if it wasn't for Red Dwarf, and it is extrapolated.
Yeah.
Extrapolated. And that's the reason, because the cat was fucking funny. And I looked up, 10 or 12-year-old me, what extrapolated meant, and made a conscious effort to add it to my vocabulary permanently, which I did.
Aspirational.
Mate, aspirational Red Dwarf.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it counts as quotable Red Dwarf, because I didn't know what it means. I don't really quote it. I don't say extrapolated. But I do use the word extrapolated explicitly because I looked it up after watching this scene. It's a good word. Look it up and use it. That's my
I'll
advice.
extrapolate that information from you and then have a look at it.
Oh,
yes.
Good use of the word extrapolate, Kurt.
I try.
Crichton and Rimmer are with the perfect Crichton and Lister, and they are joined by Crichton, Cat, and Lister. This is going to get really confusing, isn't it?
It is almost
Perfect
certainly.
Crichton and Rimmer leave to prepare refreshments. I can see why Juliet May got confused, because I'm confused in my fucking notes.
Yeah.
Rimmer says that they're hippies, which is wonderful. And Crichton's already got the triplicator, because obviously the perfect people know what it is and what it's for and just give it them. But there's a bit of a snag, and he originally thought they'd only need the perfect one, but now they need the low one as well.
It's a fetch quest.
It is a fetch quest. The perfect Red Dwarf crew enter to entertain them with music on a lyre, featuring interpretive dance from Rimmer. And
What a dance that is.
it's so
just
good.
I am on the floor every time I see that. I'm just like, his face.
This is what I think we need to emphasise every time about the actors in Red Dwarf is how the fuck do they not corpse?
Well, I mean, they did a fair bit, hence the Smeg Ups videos. But,
Well, yeah, but how did they even get one scene where they didn't corpse?
Yeah. And the lyre that Lister is playing, looks particularly metal.
It's a nice liar.
It's got like big spiky bits that look like Metallica's logo from the 80s.
Good. I approve of metal liar.
Yeah.
That's a gimmick for a rock band. Apocalyptica did it with like 4 cellos. Why can't you have a liar? But it's just so fucking dumb. And I really think that Danny John Jules and Chris Barry are clearly having their best life. They're clearly having so much fun acting like right bellends. Holly interrupts them. Perfect, Holly. And she says they're being hailed by the low Red Dwarf. The high crew are quite distressed and like, we must help them. Yeah, that wasn't a wise choice, was it?
Nope.
Starbuck flows to the low ship and all 8 of the crew members disembark. They split into 2 groups with 2 originals and 2 highs in each. Again, you can understand that.
Yeah.
Grouped in the exact one so that they've got the right cast members and no split screen needed. Yeah.
Exactly. And, you know, you can't begrudge that. They'd still do that today.
Yeah.
So Lister and Rimmer are with High, Crichton and Cat, and vice versa. High Crichton calls out that they're here to help and gets shot. He thinks it's a faulty gun, and then when he and Cat get a grenade thrown at them, he picks it up thinking it's a greeting gift. And it explodes, killing them both, and they're dead.
And it does explode because Danny John Jules' foot gets caught on it and he gets injured.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently, some of his breastplate, a squib from his breastplate had fallen down or something. And
ow.
Yeah. And the pyrotechnic apparently went off actually in his, like, between his thighs.
Oh
no. Fuck.
So
they
there was
didn't have to do 2 takes.
Well, yeah. And while I'm talking about that I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but when Lister's standing at the bit where Crichton comes through the wall, Craig Charles was in slightly the wrong position, so got twatted on the back of his head, and it wasn't supposed to be. And when he falls against that barrel, that was actually him falling and really seriously hurting himself, and he's actually in pain at that point as well.
Shit.
There's also, to lighten it up a bit, where Cat gets shot. He's like the fucking T-1000. It's like, he gets shot and he doesn't even flinch.
Yeah.
And he's just standing there going, yep, you've shot me as well. He's just thoroughly badass.
That is pretty badass, but in a very kind of hippie way.
Crichton being the High Crichton, though, I can totally get him going, you appear to have shot me 5 times.
Oh, how I love him. It's wonderful. So, Lister, like you say, dives for cover and hits his head. Legit. And Rimmer runs the other way. As Lister comes to, he's spat on and shot at by Low Lister. He runs away and comes upon Low Cat, who is gorging on raw meat.
Yes, and his teeth come out.
Yeah, I wasn't going to mention it. Did they not have another better take than that?
Well, to be honest, I mean, if they've refilmed everything. So, and apparently they had the wrap party and they had to come in the following day after the wrap party to finish some of this off.
Oh, shit.
So they were all hungover doing this. And they had to do it in like a particular order, and the sets were being broken down that afternoon.
Fucking hell.
So I think I can kind of forgive them some false teeth falling out for that.
I think it adds to the charm.
Lister hides only to be grappled from behind by Low Crichton. He flees again and comes upon Low Rimmer. Before we go into Low Rimmer, I'm going to give you So the highs were all robed and dull. Big love to the costumes for all of the lows.
Yeah.
I mean, just the thought that went into it. The cowboy hat, the black teeth and the cigar for Lister, the unkempt and overgrown teeth for the cat, the studded and twitchy from malfunctions, which is part costume, part Robert Llewellyn's brilliance.
It's like droid rot, isn't it? The low Crichton.
And finally, when we meet Low Rimmer, fishnet stockings, feathers and bondage gear. Somebody has got a little bit of a thing in Series 5. Whoever's in the costume department got a bit of a thing for our Chris Barry.
It is the season of Chris Barry, isn't it?
It really is.
It's definitely the season of seeing more of Chris Barry than we'd ever seen before. And, Chris Barry was in his prime at this point, and, he's not an unattractive man.
Would you have him, Mark?
I'm all about consent, so
yes,
no, I wouldn't just have him. I would have him if he...
Consented to have him being halved.
We've got a safe word.
Hollow whip.
Yeah, he knocks him out with a hollow whip, moving very swiftly on. Good point.
His character, the costume design to me seemed like a cross between. He'd got Mark Ullman's haircut, and then then he was basically like one of the raiders from Fallout on his way to go and see the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah, so we did just very briefly touch on it with my slightly crude joke about a safe word. He does say, "I'm going to have you." That is an explicit confirmation that he is going to rape.
Yes, which isn't
our Lister, and I get that he's a bad guy, and I just want to say that's okay. But what I do find problematic is that isn't the behaviour of the S&M community that's fair. That's Rimmer's character is kind of sort of based on to some extent. We understand it, but I don't feel like it was particularly controversial at the time, and I think it was a common misconception at the time that the S&M community wasn't very consensual, which isn't true. But that was definitely the perception in 1992. If anything, I would say the S&M community are much more about consent than a lot of other places. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. So yeah, it's not a big one, but it's definitely 90s ick.
Okay, when taking a step back from it and speaking particularly about the character, do you think it within them, even though they are like the worst of the worst, out of all four of them, do you think that all four of them are capable of the stuff that they either said or would do, or are capable of what the Lullos were? Because it is still them. It's the worst of what they could do.
So are you suggesting that at his very worst, could our Rimmer become a rapist? Oh, it's a tough one, isn't it?
Yes.
I think so.
Unfortunately, he already
has been.
The hypnotism books and stuff like that.
Quite rapey.
Which at the time, I think we've said on other episodes, is like back when it was on, it was this is all really funny, but these days you're watching it being a bit more enlightened, going, fuck no, don't do that. Yeah.
And I think becoming a cold-blooded killer is quite possible for Lister. He does justify any kills he has by them not being human, that kind of thing. He has killed. So I think...
Isn't it strange that carries on to next week's episode?
Yeah.
I just found that's fascinating.
Yeah.
And you could argue that Crichton, his programming has gone awry, and that's not really his fault. He becomes more human by the way he learns, whereas you could argue that the bad Crichton is a malfunction in a really weird way.
Yeah.
And as for the cat, he's a cat. Cats are horrible.
Well, my 9-month-old kitten had its first kill 2 days ago and took it into the cat box that was outside and then just stayed with it and looked at me. I was like, "Hey, yeah, you all right?"
Proud moment.
What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. So yes, unfortunately, Kurt, I think the answer is to all of them. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
See, I don't have to worry about that so much with my pet child because she hasn't brought home her first kill yet. Still time.
Pet child, fuck's sake.
When she does, we'll come and visit you.
Yeah.
So, next scene, Crichton, the cat, and the High, Lister, and Rimmer agree to split into two groups. Again, conveniently, Crichton and the cat, and High, Lister, and Rimmer. Because, again, financial constraints. But also, it actually does lead to some more fun scenes than if they had mixed up the two crews, I think.
Yes, I think so too.
The Lows have Lister in their medibay. They put a random doohickey into his spine, and they tell him that they want the High Red Dwarf, and that they're going to use him to get it, as they can now control him with a remote control.
I think we need a mention for Goth Holly in.
Goth Holly is great.
With the white snow in the background, TV snow in the background as well.
Very good. Very nice little touch, that, actually. I think that's worth mentioning, yeah. One thing I will mention in this scene, Lister's laugh. Oh, yeah. We've all had a friend with a laugh like that, haven't we? You know the friend that you don't want to make happy because his laugh irritates you. We've all had that friend, haven't we?
Yeah, not usually by choice. It's usually a school friend or something.
Yeah, or a friend of a friend. They just turn up and they've got the worst laugh, and you're like, oh. I'm a terrible human being. I should be better. But there's a line, and laughs like that. Stop it. I don't want you to be happy. Anyway. They make Lister shut his head in a cabinet, pour hot water on his groin, and then eat a tarantula before taping his mouth and sending him out to kill.
The eating a tarantula bit, you've got Low Crichton going, perhaps he'd like something to eat. Yes! Which is just brilliant. And then, he eats a tarantula, which particularly amuses me because I'm always taking the mickey out of my wife, who is scared of spiders, but when she was about 18 months old, her mum came into the room and she'd been eating one. And me and my daughter, when taking the mickey out of her, often say that she eats spiders, as if she still does, which she doesn't because she's scared of them. But if she wasn't scared of them, she'd probably still eat them, I think.
I'm not quite sure I want to be around this family.
No.
We've got a child killer.
Potential child.
Not yet.
Okay, sorry.
He's working on it.
This actually has my quotable Red Dwarf for the episode, and it's something that to this day I will always say when I see my brother. And maybe he'd like to go for a little walk. So whenever I'm going for a walk, I tend to say to people, do you want to go for a little walk? And no one gets it other than my brother. The slightly weird-ass pronunciation of little walk. Literally no one gets it other than my brother, but I still fucking do it.
It's worth it.
It is totally worth it.
Yeah.
Perhaps you'd like to go for a little walk. I just love it. And this scene is so horrible. And obviously it's supposed to be. They're torturing this guy. But it's torturing people's funny, clearly.
I've always thought so, yeah.
Yeah, definitely not going to the Jackson-Brown family.
But there is actually a very important philosophical thing that we did touch on before, actually, where Lister says that Low Lister can't be him, and says because he kills, but they also list all his faults that he hides. And everybody has that list in their head. And it's not a nice thing that I think that's more torturous than the physical pain that they do, actually.
Although one of the things that they mentioned was pretty fucking nasty, where he held a magnifying glass to his best friend's neck and watched him burn. That's not right.
Kids are cruel, man.
I don't think...
do kids still do that? Don't still do that, but still use magnifying glasses to set things on fire? Because that used to be a thing.
Set things on fire, yes, but I don't think I've ever done it to your best friend's neck.
And watched him burn. No, I haven't either. I want to make that very clear. I have never watched a friend burn.
But Kurt hasn't said anything, so he obviously
he hasn't.
I actually saw someone burn recently, but that was something else. That was that was an actual thing at work where someone burnt the hand. But that wasn't nice. That wasn't a nice experience. So
Generally.
No, but you helped him rather than make it worse, right?
No, it was her, but yeah, she managed. She was all right. I did help her. I took her to hospital.
There you go.
So I was all right.
That would be what the high Kurt would do, not the low Kurt. So that's
true.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Balances out.
There's a moment here where it very much dates it, where Kat finds their VHSs and CDs.
That's what I've got. CDs, VHSs. That's all I've written.
One of the titles of they're all like gory video nasty type movies, and one of them is called Die Screaming with Sharp Things in Your Head, which is an
are you
excellent
surprised
title.
that I made a full list, Colin?
No, go ahead.
They have Revenge of the Mutant Splatgore Monster, Die Screaming with Sharp Things in Your Head, and they're actually the only two videos, but their food, they have Toasty Toppers, Cinema Hot Dogs, Sweaty Kebabs. Their CD collection is Hammond Heaven, Karaoke Crazy, and Tuneful Tunes for Elderly Ladies.
Which is, hold on, that CD collection, particularly the Hammond one, that's normal Rimmer's CD collection.
Exactly. It's very clever, very subtle, and very funny.
And also, there's the bit that nobody mentions in that scene that I only noticed last night and had to clarify with Mark and Carl, as they're our resident wrestling experts.
Yes.
For some bizarre reason,
The poster in the top corner. Yes.
On the wall.
I was going to bring that up.
Of Sting from WCW before he had the makeup to look like the Crow.
And this is the thing. That version of Sting was never a bad guy. He was the good guy. If they wanted to be authentic, they should have had a poster at that time of Big Van Vader, who was Sting's rival. Sting was
think
very
I'd
much
have
the goodie.
recognised that.
You see, what I was going to say was poster in corner. Is that a wrestler?
Yeah.
It was, yes. It was Sting.
Not,
When you see Sting Gordon Sumner.
I was going to say, it's not the same Sting that was in The Police. No, that would be fantastic.
Because tantric torture will be interested.
To be fair, a poster of Sting is borderline right for the Lowe's.
It really would be, yeah.
I mean, it's not quite as bad as Tuneful Tunes for Elderly Ladies.
Particularly Fields of Gold era Sting. Or that album that he released with Shaggy a couple of years ago.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
He did.
Oh, dear.
You're going to buy
There's
it now,
a rosy day.
Nothing wrong with Desert Rose. That was all right. That one was all right. I liked that song. The rest of the album
I like the Fields of Gold album, actually. I do think the Fields of Gold album is a really good album.
It's a bit U2, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
It is a little beautiful, actually, yeah.
Anyway.
4 years ago, I was in Barcelona. 4 years ago, I was in Barcelona watching U2. Now I wouldn't even get out of the county.
Yeah, true. They find the triplicator, and they've only got 8 minutes. So, Hi Lister and Rimmer discuss their love for each other, and Remote Control Lister stabs Hi Lister and crushes Rimmer's light bee.
Which is the first confirmation that a hologram can be killed.
Yes.
So, yeah. Also, there's the amazing line just before that. Forgive me, brother, I appear to have stained your knife with my blood.
Permit me to furnish you with a new knife.
Yes.
I get it. The diversity of the lows is great, but I think to some extent, the gags that you get out of the lack of diversity from the highs is also still worth having. That's
the thing. I complained about it, but I still really... It's funny as fuck, which is what it needs to be.
Yeah, exactly.
And it definitely invoked Hitchcock and Psycho, didn't it?
Yes.
It was literally the same kind of stabbing motion.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And good eye work in the kind of the horror of Craig Charles's eyes. If you're acting with just your eyes, you need to be a fucking good actor.
Yeah.
That's kind of Blair Witch level shit, isn't it? Where you just you can only act with your eyes. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Or your dormouse cheeks.
That's true. That's a deep reference, Kurt.
It's coming up in the next scene.
Oh, good point.
It's not that deep.
Cat and Rimmer return to Crichton, who's fixing the triplicator. The cat found Rimmer hiding in a box.
You see, this is something I wanted to raise. This is the reason why I put Dormouse cheeks and Goalpost head. Because throughout this episode, I'm talking about Boys from the Dwarf, you've got Lister and Crichton and Rimmer and the cat, and that's not really like a duo that you would have, especially toward the very end when he's like saying, I'm going to enjoy myself here, and he actually refers to Rimmer.
Yeah.
It's the first kind of time that we see him, like, Cat's like going to Rimmer and saying stuff and like is more against Lister in a way.
Yeah.
So I find that fascinating. That's kind of like the beginning of that, and as we mentioned, the Boys from the Dwarf kind of thing.
Yeah.
That I hadn't spotted that, but you're bang on. They are worried about Lister, but when he arrives under the control of the Lows, the cat rips the tape off his mouth. Lister is then able to warn them how to dodge as he swings an axe and then shoots at them with a bazookoid.
Look out, I'm going to kill you. I'm a homicidal maniac.
Look out, I'm going to kill you.
Kill you.
Yeah, my accent was completely fucking wrong there.
It was, Paul.
Because I can't do voices.
No.
Neither can I.
They desperately try to find a way to incapacitate him, and Cat knees him right in the nuts, and unfortunately it still doesn't work. As Lister reloads, Crichton chloroforms him.
Yes, because he tells him to take him by surprise.
I'm taking you by surprise,
taking you by surprise, sir.
This is... we don't normally sit there and like nerd out quite as badly as we have done today, but this episode is just so quotable and so fun, and the lines are so good. And like I say, at the very start, massively underrated episode because of what's coming next.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Anyway.
can dig that.
And I'll say it again, and surprising that, they even became the thing it did in the first place.
Yeah.
So I just find fascinating that they've had to do full reshoots, even to the point where some of them, further into that discussion, is some of the shoots we're looking at, so they're good parts on two elements, and like they needed the middle bit. And like they were having to rip things out and, try and put things back in and redo everything. So it's just like, to be able to get, the episode that we've got, and as you say, being underrated, I find really, really interesting that season 5 has by far been, so far, and next week excluded, it's been the strangest season to look at and the most fascinating because of the whole Juliet May thing. Yeah.
I mean, I came into this series of recordings not knowing that, because I clearly haven't done my research. But I research in other ways. We complement each other.
We do.
Yeah.
And I'm learning as we go along, and it's absolutely fascinating that this series that I thought was like the epitome of Red Dwarf being confident and capable and in its groove was in such fucking crisis.
Yeah.
They flee to...
We just agreed. It was fun.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
They flee to Starbug to activate the triplicator after a hairy moment where it looks like it won't start up. However, Lister comes to and starts axing at the Navicom and strangling the cat.
The way that Lister sits up is, we've mentioned Psycho earlier, but that is full on Michael Myers.
You see, I saw a different thing.
Undertaker.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I saw the Undertaker from the Wrestles.
Was that already happening yet? Would it be Undertaker at that point doing that?
Yeah, it would have been because I was into
so.
wrestling at that point.
I think it
I
would
was
have
into wrestling
been
at that point.
relatively early, but he would have started doing that, yeah.
Fair
He went
enough.
he's gone on for like 50 years, Undertaker.
Yeah.
Not quite 50, but yes, he's been around a while. He debuted in the 80s.
Actually, yeah, I knew who Sting was because I'd got WCW figures, because WCW was the wrestling you could watch if you didn't have Sky.
That's exactly right.
I mean, was it 92, 93 was around the whole Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart kind of Razor Ramon started to come into it. Maybe it's kind of era, wasn't it? Yeah. So it was just after the Hulk and Ultimate Warrior and all them. See, I do know some things.
There you go. There you go. So they remove the implant, but Crichton staggers when they hit a wall and it ends up in the cat's neck. The cat strangles Lister, but Crichton removes the implant. They activate the triplicator and Red Dwarf is restored. It's all a bit crazy in that little scene with the cockpit, and It's quite nicely done, really, considering the constraints.
And that scene where Red Dwarf is restored is the final time so far that we've ever seen that Red Dwarf. Because you don't see it next week.
And it was computer generated for Series 7?
It wasn't in Series 7.
It's not in Season 7.
Series 8, excuse me.
Series 8, it was computer generated.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
They'd blown it up. Obviously, they filmed the blowing it up bit after they filmed that bit where it reappears.
Right.
But that was the only model that they'd got, and they actually blew it up at the start of this episode.
Huh.
So it's you don't see it. This was, as you said earlier, 19th of March, 92. The next time Red Dwarf is seen is Back in the Red, which is February 1999, because they're in Starbug for the next episode.
Yeah.
And then they've lost it.
Yeah, there. Good grief.
And where could it be? We shall find out.
We will.
Yes.
So, Lister is exhausted, but when he sits down, he sits on the implant. He goes for the cat, but the cat shoots a giggling cupboard where Low Lister was hiding.
And the cat's face is like full on badass.
It is.
At that point. He's like, yeah, I just killed him. He's a twat, he deserved it.
Cat then picks up the controls and proceeds to make Lister slap himself, saying it's going to be a fun week. I enjoyed that episode a lot. It was always a favourite of mine growing up when I first started watching Red Dwarf. But I think I knew that it wasn't, even then, that it wasn't considered one of the greats.
Yeah, see, it's not one that I'd really ever had stuck in my head particularly. There were odd little bits in there that did, but it's not as memorable as a lot of the others, but it should be because it's fucking great.
I think it's more the lines. There's so many one-liners, so many really good, kind of snappy, punchy, genuinely funny lines that I don't know why it's not more well-loved.
No.
See, I would come at it from a slightly different angle. I remember this more than some of the other episodes.
Right.
I actually, I would consider this to be an episode I remember quite fondly.
Cool.
I didn't know, obviously, all the background, and that makes it even more interesting. But yeah, it's always been an episode that I remember quite vividly, actually. So I'm not quite sure why that would be, but maybe I was just in it right. It was at the right time for me. What year was it? 92.
Yeah.
So I'd have been 12. I'd have been 12 at that point, coming up to 13. So March 92. So yeah, so I would have been 12.
Yeah.
I guess revisiting these things has made me not really reassess, because I knew in my head which episodes I really liked and which episodes mattered less to me. But I've normally gone along with kind of like an established norm when it comes to that, whereas this has always been one that I really, really loved, whereas it's not considered one of the greatest in general fandom. So I think maybe this is the first time it stuck out to me, perhaps.
Right.
Yeah, I can dig that. But it's good. All of season 5 is good. So
It really is.
And I think, as you say, what's coming next week is probably a big reason for that.
Yeah. It overshadows it, doesn't it?
So that's our chat about Angels and Demons. Before we go, Kurt, where can people find you on the internet?
Find me on Twitter at rmuldrake. That's RMULDRAKE. You can find me on the Xcast, currently covering season 7. I'm in the front end of a lot of Xcast stuff this season, so I'm in quite a few that's just airing right now as we speak, and it will be around 3 or 4 weeks before you hear this, so most of them should have been cleared. So you can find me on the X_cast and the Millennium Podcast. The Time Is Now. The Time Is Now Pod on Twitter.
My Twitter for just me is Mogwai Fear Satan, and I've got 2 other podcasts. We Dig Music, which is a podcast where at the moment we are going through a different year of the last sort of 50 years or so, and just me and my two co-hosts are choosing 10 songs each, and then we're sort of voting to find out which is the best song out of them. It's usually one that I've picked because I've got better music taste than everyone else. Wow. And that's the way it's gone most of the time. And my other podcast is free with this month's issue, which is me and Ian from Weeding Music, plus a different guest each time, listening to an old free CD from Kerrang or Metal Hammer or Melody Maker or something like that, and finding the various horrors and delights within. You can find both of them by typing the titles of them, Weeding Music or free with this month's issue, into a podcast thingy, like you're listening to this one.
True.
Use Google. It's quite easy.
If you're looking for me, it's at MarkAdamsHC on Twitter and Instagram. I do a lot of other podcasting. I've got a podcast about tattoos called Ink Stories. That's seasonal, and we're between series at the moment, but there are lots of episodes to listen to if you're interested in tattoos, at Ink Stories Pod on Twitter and Instagram. I've got a podcast with my friend Fraser about kind of sort of millennial TV. It's very complicated. It's not. I'm old, he's young, and we look at each other's telly. That's called Right in the Childhood, at RITC Pod on Twitter. I've got a podcast about my job as a humanist celebrant, where I talk to different people about their milestones in their life, birth, marriage, and death, and that is called Life's Milestones, at Life's Milestones on Twitter. Like Colin said, look for the titles in Spotify or Apple or whatever other thing you use for your podcastery. So thank you very much for joining us on Shipwrecked and Comatose. And until next time...
Philosopher.
Hello everyone, this is Tony, Network Chief of We Made This. As you know, our podcast network brings together a brilliant assortment of talent who talk about all kinds of pop culture content, such as the episode you just listened to, or maybe you're just about to listen to. We're not going anywhere, but we'd love to keep the lights on for even longer if you're able to support our network on Patreon. For just £2 a month, you get your name in lights and the satisfaction of knowing you're helping us produce more great audio. And for £3 a month, you'll get your name in lights, but you'll also get access to an exclusive bi-monthly podcast from the We Made This talent pool on podcasting, pop culture, and, well, you tell us. We'll take your suggestions. For less than the price of a coffee per month, you can help keep We Made This going. Just head to patreon.com/We Made This. That's patreon.com/We Made This. And get the ball rolling. Now, back to your scheduled programming. Elsewhere on We Made This. Gotham University, a Batman podcast.
God, so speaking of masks, there has been some news. It sounds like Zack Snyder is in the news again. What's going on with the masks, Jay?
My boy Zack! Just when you thought that the controversy of Zack Snyder was simmering down, he rose back up and just not only blew up the internet, not only broke the internet, he figuratively and probably literally fucked it right back into hysteria with this whole Batman news going on right now.
We dig music.
I recently watched the movie that came out recently of the book about all the black metal scene.
Oh, yes. I actually have that book. Lords of Chaos.
Lords of Chaos, that's it, yeah. I watched the Lords of Chaos
That's
movie.
the one with Macaulay Culkin's brother in it.
Yes.
Or something like that.
It's really good.
And where they really, really pissed off Varg by casting someone Jewish to play him.
Which is always a good idea.
Yeah.
Always piss off Varg McCann if you can, because he's a f***ing bellend. Not scared of you, Varg, even though you stabbed people 27 times.
Or and got caught on a train with a rocket launcher.
Yeah.
At that point.
He's a bit of a bellend.
A little bit racist. A little bit questionable.
Yeah, just a bit.
Uses papyrus as a font of choice.
And that's his worst crime.
That 100% is. I'm not even joking. Like, he's done some bad shit, but papyrus, unfucking acceptable.
Beautiful.
We are Starfleet, a Star Trek Discovery podcast.
Oh, look at Garrick. You know, he looks so cute in this.
Or I'm watching an episode he's not in, and I wonder what Garrick's doing right now.
Where's
maybe
he
I
at?
I should text him and see what he's doing.
Okay,
text him, see if he's watching this. Yeah.
So are you guys like texting buddies? Do you have a group chat going?
Pretty much. Yeah. It's a bit alarming, particularly when I accidentally get CC'd on the Obsidian Order chat. But
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.
Shipwrecked and Comatose, a Red Dwarf podcast, was created and produced by Mark Adams and Kurt North. You can find us on Twitter at Red Dwarf Pod, and we are part of the We Made This podcast network, which can be found online at wemadethispod.com or on Twitter at We Made This Pod.